The London to Birmingham, that seems to be a lock. The Birmingham to Leeds is gone. It's now whether they even press north of Birmingham, whether that is a reality. Let's discuss that with Jamie Driscoll, who's Labour Metro Mayor for the North of Tyne Combined Authority, so a little bit further north, I have to say, than Leeds or Manchester, joins me now. Mr Mayor, were your council sought on whether this money should be spent or not on HS2, what would your verdict be? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, about as far north as you can get in England. It's all about capacity. It doesn't matter how fast the trains go if the trains aren't running. The reality is that if you try and get a Transpennine Express train from Newcastle over to Manchester or Liverpool, every second train is currently cancelled. And HS2, even were it delivered in full, will not bring any benefits to the North East unless we increase capacity. And this is an old engineering problem. There are literally just 2 tracks once you get north of North Yorkshire into the North East, which means you can only get 6 trains an hour down them. And without, so 2 go to London every hour, 2 go through to Birmingham, the south of England, southwest of England, 2 go to the northwest. So it doesn't matter how fast the trains are going, you simply can't put more trains on them. But there is an old line there, which was open till as recently as 1991, which has the alignment. We've been campaigning to get that open. That's called the Leamside line. It was agreed to be part of the Northern Powerhouse Rail, which some of your listeners may recall. Yeah. Trust promised to implement in full, and that's the solution that we need for the benefit of the people in the North East. So
that sounds, Mr. Mayor, that sounds relatively cheap to get running again. Then
it does, yeah. The ballpark figure would be around about 1.5 billion. We've just said there's 5 billion on tunnelling alone for part of I think that's Bedford. To get the entire thing open. And actually, as the benefit, Nick, that it enables our local transport system to significantly improve. The Tyne and Wear Metro could run on part of those tracks.
Okay.
Cities like Sunderland are a long way from the East Coast main line, and it would integrate them. So it would actually, get more cars off the road, help with economic growth, help with dealing with the climate emergency.
Michael Gove is the freshly installed Levelling Up Secretary. How committed do you sense the government is to levelling up, Mr. Mayor?
Now, that's an interesting question. Now, I would suspect that Mr. Gove is very keen on it, given that he had a whole series of arguments with Mr. Sunak last year when he was developing the what became the Levelling Up White Paper. Now, that was long delayed because he lost the arguments to get the money he would need to do it. So I don't sense that conflict has been resolved. So I think someone like Michael Gove, he gets it, that it needs to happen, but whether the government is willing to do anything about it is a different issue. Now, everybody wants money, and it is the case that councils have been vastly underfunded in the north for a long, long time now. And we can see it. People really are queuing up at food banks. This isn't lefties whining. It is the reality that people face. However, there are things that could do that don't cost a great deal of money that would enable people like me to lever in a lot more investment. The North East, we've been massively successful. The number 1 region in the country for levering in foreign direct investment. We've outstripped on a per capita basis of London by a ratio of 4-1. So we can do it, but they need to give us the powers. One of the things, when we're talking about rail in particular, is the power to do what's called land value capture. When you put in a new railway line, the land around it becomes immediately more valuable. It literally generates wealth. Mm-hmm. If we were allowed to capture that by putting a charge on the properties, no one would be out of pocket until they came to sell it. It's a direct windfall. Nobody's done anything to get that other than the investment we've put in. We could self-fund a lot of these rail improvements. So if they want to do it, they need to be thinking about that kind of innovation, which I'm totally up for, and I know all my colleagues, all my Northern mayors are in agreement. We even passed that resolution through the Transport for the North Board saying this to government. So we have willing partners here looking at new ways to lever in an awful lot of private money, which is out there looking for a home. And I think the government would do well to talk to us about some fiscal devolution.
Let's hope Mr. Gove takes you up on that. Jamie, thanks for your time. Jamie Driscoll is a Labour Mayor of North of Tyne Combined Authority, about as north as you get in England.